Yo, Alex here. Now that prices have finally gone down to a much more palatable level, I finally bought an S23 Ultra for testing, and while I have mixed feelings about the phone, while I think that it's a really solid phone that is easy to recommend to most people at the lower price point now, I actually don't really like the phone because I feel like Samsung hasn't really done enough here. First of all, the new slightly tweaked design is kinda nice, but I get the feeling that Samsung doesn't really care about the S Pen. It's still in a bad position if you're right-handed, and this time round, they coated the pen in a slightly soft touch finish which actually makes the pen harder to pull out. It might feel a bit nicer in hand, but I bet that the soft touch coating on it probably wouldn't last long for heavy S Pen users. Anyway, the phone still feels really well built, haptics are decent, and it still has an IP68 rating and wireless charging. The front of the phone is protected by the latest Gorilla Glass Victus 2, and it has a nice display as expected from Samsung. High resolution, adaptive refresh rate, very high brightness outdoors, and nice looking colors. But I did notice a bit more blue shift when viewing the screen at an angle, and I've seen reviews mentioning that low brightness PWM frequency is still pretty low. Those are not deal breakers for me, but if you care about those things, do take note. Another thing I want to mention is the ultrasonic fingerprint sensor. It works well for the most part as long as you're not using a thick screen protector or whatnot, but I was really hoping that this would be the year they finally upgrade their sensor to the larger one that Qualcomm offers. The Vivo X80 Pro was using that sensor and it was really good. Hopefully, we'll see that on their next flagship device. The S23 Ultra stereo speakers sound decent, but the position of the bottom speaker makes it easy to block while gaming. If they just swap the position of the speaker and S Pen back to how it was on the Note 10, it would solve not just the speaker issue, but also the issue I have with the position of the S Pen. Oh well. Moving on, the S23 Ultra is using the latest Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chipset, which performs noticeably better compared to the 8 Gen 1 and 888. It has better performance, runs a lot cooler, and is a lot more power efficient, so a day of use is easily achievable as long as you're not gaming too heavily. That said, while it can handle most games with ease, it doesn't seem to perform as well as the OnePlus 11 when it comes to Genshin. While battery drain was about the same, it seems to run a bit hotter, FPS seems to fluctuate a bit more, and the touch response seems to be a bit slower as well. Even if I turn down the graphics a little, it doesn't really help much with the touch response, and the phone still has less stable FPS and runs warmer compared to the OnePlus 11. Looking at the test results from other reviews I've seen, this seems to be the norm. In the end, the 4 Galaxy version of the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 seems to be mostly just marketing, or maybe they just need more optimization for the game. If you've seen my other reviews for Samsung phones, you'll know One UI is my favorite Android UI. I like the design, the amount of customization options they offer, and the amount of useful features they have. I particularly like the battery saving features since I like to take good care of my devices. They even have some sort of charging bypass feature while gaming if you have a USB PD charger. That said, it's still not perfect, and there are still some things I'm not a fan of. Like there are so many Samsung services built in which I don't care for, and useful apps like Good Lock, game plugins, camera assistant are all tied to the Galaxy Store. Another minor thing that started to annoy me a little is how brightness adjustment works. I find the method that ColorOS uses a lot easier to control one-handed compared to how Samsung does it. I'm mentioning these now because it feels like things haven't really been improving much in this regard, and I guess because it's such an expensive phone, I'm nitpicking a bit more. But I do have to commend Samsung for committing to 4 major Android updates and 5 years of security patches. Them doing this has inspired other manufacturers like OnePlus to do the same, and that's great news for consumers. Last but not least would be camera performance, which has always been Samsung's focus and probably one of the main reasons to buy their phones. Putting aside specs, the camera system here is mostly very good, just like its predecessors. The main camera is able to capture nice looking images with good details and relatively natural looking colors in most lighting conditions. It can technically shoot at 200 megapixel, but personally, it's not something that I care about, especially from a smartphone camera sensor. The secondary cameras all perform pretty well in good lighting, from the ultra wide, the 3x telephoto, as well as the 10x periscope telephoto camera. The 10x camera in particular is probably a highlight of the phone here since it's not that common in the market, and it actually produces very good results. This is a great camera to have if you enjoy taking photos of animals or maybe just to read something far away. Of course, these cameras are not as good in low light, but with night mode, they are sometimes able to produce okay looking shots too. The front camera got a downgrade in resolution, but focusing seems to be more reliable thanks to dual pixel autofocus. My only complaint here is that night mode takes a bit too long to capture, and with the phone being so heavy, it's quite hard to keep the phone steady. I do like that it's able to capture 4K 60fps video on the front camera, and even the electronic stabilization looks good. Rear camera video capture got a nice upgrade too in terms of stabilization, and they can all shoot in 4K 60fps, which is really nice. But my favorite aspect of the camera is actually the software itself. Samsung's Pro Video mode is not only easy to use, but also quite powerful. You can also download the Camera Assistant app to add even more options, though I feel like the capture speed settings should have been built into the camera app to begin with. So yeah, because the S23 Ultra is either good or very good in almost every aspect and has no major shortcomings, it's a pretty safe phone to recommend to most folks. But I feel like the biggest improvements over the S22 Ultra are mostly from the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chipset, and mostly because of how bad the 8 Gen 1 was. If I just disregard that, the improvements over the S22 Ultra or even the S21 Ultra are mostly incremental. Maybe I'm asking for too much, but looking at other Chinese brands, it almost feels to me like Samsung isn't trying as hard. Not to mention as well, they even downgraded the RAM from 12GB to 8GB, and they're still providing only 1 year of warranty as standard for a phone that is priced at over 1,800 Singapore dollars. This might be fine for now since the last 2 years hasn't been great for Android phones in general. So maybe just having the 8 Gen 2 chipset plus not having any major shortcomings might be sufficient to make the S23 Ultra worth buying at current market prices. But if they keep this up, I think more of their users might start to look at other brands, just like I did. If they still want to price their devices at such a premium in the future, I think they have to put in more effort.